Welcome to In the Green Room. I'm Kinga.
And I'm Chat.
And I'm Sharon Barrett.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
I don't want to butcher your name. I knew
Nice
it
to
was
be
something
here.
close to that. We are so excited. I have been wanting you on the show for so long because Leah, that's very close with you, has been saying, you got to get Sharon on the show. You got to get Sharon on the show. She's doing this. She's doing that. She's real estate. She's Wyoming. She's, she does fix and flip. She helps the little guy. And she's been saying what a perfect fit you are for the show, and you are. So can we have you introduce yourself?
That's a very strong introduction, and I really appreciate it. And I am.
Well, it's true.
I am real estate. I share with people all the time that I think it's actually in my bio somewhere, but I have little houses in my veins, not blood cells. And I truly did subdivide my play yard when I was 6 years old. And I remodeled my sandbox, and that was the beginning. And I put some 2x4s in where my sisters could park their bikes, and I rented it to them for $0.05 a day. And so I learned about real estate at a very, very early age, and it can be very profitable as long as they pay the rent. Sometimes the nickels were late getting into me, but nonetheless I pursued and have gone on to 57 beautiful years of really nothing but real estate.
And you also have a construction company. You have a title company.
Absolutely.
You're about to open up 5
Mortgage
bars
company.
and restaurants.
Yes.
Even a lot of other bars and restaurants. So there's so much to get into, but I just want to start with, how did you get started?
Well,
was it your parents that showed you the way?
No. It really was that it was in my DNA. My dad was a nuclear engineer, and of course,
smart.
Very. And as a result of it, our own homes, they were run like nuclear power plants. Everything
Really?
was in order. I learned a lot about construction because at that point I was probably 8 years old when he added on to our house. We had 4 children and needed some more space, and I was fascinated. I was just absolutely fascinated. And then not too long after that, a few years after that, they decided that they wanted to upgrade, and so we built a brand new home. And I was the only one of 4 children who insisted on going up to the new house every day to see what was happening. It was kind of like my play yard.
So it was in your DNA.
It was. It absolutely was. And
so you got the excitement from a young age.
I did. And it was thrilling to me to see, the various stages of everything, how the 2x4s were up, and then all of a sudden there were rooms, and watching the electrical. just kind of crazy things for somebody at my age, but I knew that I loved it at that
But everybody
point.
gets their passion somehow, and that's how you got yours.
And the beautiful thing about it is that I recognized it, because so many times I think that people suppress that and go, well, keep in mind, this is in the 50s. And so at that time, going through high school and then of course going to college in the 60s, I wanted to be an architect. And so my dad was insistent that I go to the University of Wyoming, that I wanted to come to ASU because that was an architectural school that I had, and I'd come down here when I was in high school and toured the whole city.
I was going to ask if you ever got into architecture with your obsession with houses. That makes sense.
It was the natural gravitation. And
Good question.
And it was wonderful that I finally got to go to school for architecture. Right out of high school, but I wanted to come to Arizona because they specifically had an architectural school. Wyoming had a division inside the engineering department for architecture. So I went to Wyoming. That was my dad's alma mater. That was important, and of course I was going elsewhere for graduate school and so on. But what I found when I was there was really interesting, and here again it was the 60s. There were no women. Zero.
I love that. So you were
none.
kind of.
I was the only one in my classes.
You were the first.
The professors had no idea what to do with me. They absolutely did not know how to relate to me. And, if I had a question, it was almost like put on display, like, oh, this silly girl wants to know X, Y, Z. And, to me, it was a natural thing to ask questions. But as a couple of years went on, I was really present to the fact that this was the beginning of something that was going to be a pervasive conversation throughout my life. And
I
of
love
course,
that.
things were going to change. I didn't know that, but as a young 20-year-old who's just got these bright eyes and so excited about designing and all the wonderful things that I could see in my life that I really wanted to do.
Because you were exposed to it when you
I was
were 8
exposed
years
to it,
old.
absolutely.
And you loved it from the
and
beginning.
I was drawing houses when I was 12. I mean, it was just like I loved it. So as I continued to have the frustration levels with the professors and the school itself, I kept thinking, this is not going the direction that I really want to go. I wanted to be an architect. There was no question about it. And I thought at that point, maybe changing schools and coming to Arizona, my dream would have been the best option, because they really had an architectural school and I had friends who were here and so
you'd
on.
been to Arizona before?
I had, yes. And I toured the ASU campus in 1965 and fell in love, much different then than it is now. But nonetheless, my parents were just not having it. It was just plain and simple, no, you're going to the University of Wyoming, period, end of conversation. So looking at that and knowing that,
Did you look at that with a positive attitude? Like, okay,
I didn't
I'm gonna
look
make
at
this
it as
work?
a positive attitude, with a positive
Okay,
attitude.
okay.
I did not, no. And it really it was very frustrating because I couldn't get the attention that I really wanted. I really wanted to go all in, and there was a barrier. I mean, as much as I don't really like to ever say there was a challenge in my life, there was a barrier. I didn't consider it a challenge. It was like, I'm not giving up, but there was no real support for me to get that degree that I really wanted to have.
Do you think because Wyoming was a small town, is that why there were less
It's
women
a state.
involved?
It's a state.
I mean, state. Thank you. I know it's a state. Sorry. Thank you.
Totally.
That was funny.
No, that was very good.
But
That was very
cause
good,
it's
yeah.
more small town, so there's gonna be less women there.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay,
And truly back then, most universities were male dominated. It wasn't, I mean, women were starting, here again in the 60s, the women's revolution had not come about yet. And there was an underlying conversation of what are you doing here? This is a guy's college.
You've been through so much. Things have changed so much.
Oh my gosh, yes.
This is so exciting to hear the whole transition.
Yes.
Anyway,
and it's so
continue.
much fun to talk to young people today. I have a client who's a young architect, and she, I relate my stories to her and what I went through and what she went through, and what she has a degree. She actually has a master's degree. And seeing where perhaps some of the things that did happen for me, I made some complaints in the university and so on and so forth, maybe perhaps blazed a bit of a trail.
I
for us
love
to
that.
It's good that the
Yeah.
culture has changed. I feel like now
Oh,
it's super
yes.
encouraged for women to get into
Oh,
those fields. Like,
Definitely.
even though some of them are still like the demographics, it's way more guys in some of those fields. It's still encouraged when women get into those industries.
Well, and they're excelling.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
there
100%.
is something, and I felt that myself. It's like sometimes I'd say, am I weird? I mean, why do I think I can even do this, And I was like, no, women are good at this. They're really, really good at
Love
this.
that.
And some of the projects that I did while I was in college, I got very good grades. But I also had a battle in a lot of it,
In Wyoming.
in Wyoming, having to go back.
Mhm.
So about 3 years into the whole project, I decided that this is going to be something that when I get out of here, when I have that degree, and I had started talking to firms and so on, and it was almost like I got laughed out of the office when I'd show up to find out about what they might have available after I graduated and so on. So I just did a real reality check at the time. Today that would have never been the conversation, but back then it was like, I want to make a living in this business. I don't want to be fighting all these battles all the time about, this little kitten over here trying to roar or whatever it was. I want to make a difference. I really do.
And you have.
And I have.
And
I
that's
feel that.
why
Thank
we're
you.
so excited
Thank
to have you
Yeah,
here today.
thank you.
And I've been trying to get you on the show for probably 6 months.
I know we have.
It's a really big deal to
we've
have
been
her on
trying.
today.
We've been trying.
Yes.
Absolutely.
She's so busy.
Absolutely, Yeah.
So anyway, so keep going.
Yes. So anyhow, that realization came about, and as a result of that, I just decided, okay, this is it, and immediately started to look for what is next. And I thought, well, I'm just going to spend a little bit of time learning more, hands-on. So I'm going to go into real estate. I'm become associated with builders, home builders, find out more, and so I did. And by the time I was 22 years old, I had my own real estate company,
In Wyoming.
First woman founded real estate company in Wyoming.
Yay, women!
Yes.
Whee!
And at the time, there were actually 4 women in real estate in Wyoming.
That's incredible.
And now everywhere, I think women dominate the business.
It's ubiquitous now.
Percentage-wise, absolutely. I think percentage-wise, there are far more women in the business than there are men. But I will say that
Thanks to people like you.
I would hope so. I hope I've made, like I said, I really hope I've made
Your
a
impact.
difference in some of the trailblazing and so on. And I know that the male component of it, they were my friends. I looked at them in a real joyous way because they really did have knowledge I didn't have, and that was so vital to me. So I made lots and lots of friends. I made a few enemies because I was young. I mean, that was kind of that was then and this is now, but they were like, what could you possibly know? You're 22 years old, how could you know anything? And there was a part of that was right. I hadn't done thousands of transactions. I've now done thousands of transactions. And I can say that looking back at that journey, never listening to that conversation and continuing to listen to what was in my heart and what I saw.
And you didn't
was
give
the right
up.
path. I never gave up. No, never gave up.
I love that.
And I'm at the place in my life where it probably is time to quit. But I
No,
just keep
it's
looking
not.
at it and going, I don't
No,
know. I
why?
think there's
Well, do you
more.
enjoy doing it?
I love it.
Oh yeah, then
I
don't
do. I
stop doing it if
absolutely
you
love
like it.
I
Yeah.
absolutely love
Not
it.
only does
It
she
only
love
makes
it,
sense for people to retire if they don't enjoy their work.
Well,
But
and that's how I feel
yeah,
too.
there's so many stats that show that like most people die within I think like 5 years of retirement or something. It's because
It's
when
true.
you don't have a purpose anymore, it's kind of like your whole body and mind. It's like use it or lose it. So if you enjoy your job, you might as well stay with it.
when
Well,
you
that's
love
how
what
I
you do, to me, why would you stop?
It's effortless. It really
Totally.
is. And it's challenging. Every single solitary day is challenging. And
And I want to get to it, but very soon we're going to be opening some new bars and restaurants.
right.
But that we have to keep going with where it goes in the story.
Well, which part?
Well, because I want to talk about, I know you married the love of your life,
Yes.
and then you divorced him,
Yes.
and then you married him again,
Yes.
and you divorced him again.
Yes.
So I'm going to hear about all of that.
Are you going to go for the hat trick third?
Well, let me say this. We'll talk a little bit about more about real estate and the journey, and then we'll manage to get.
yes, 'cause I'm gonna
Oh
talk
wait,
about
she
that
said that was the one thing she didn't want to talk about.
Oh, I want to talk about it. I want to talk about
She
it.
said that was the one
I'll
thing
give
she
you a
didn't
little
want to
bit.
talk
Because
about.
she said,
Yeah.
but when,
Beforehand, when I said, "What
when
do
we-
you not want to talk about?" She said her ex-husband.
But
So you're
when we-
violating her one rule.
but when we talked about
You're being
him,
so rude, though.
she said that her most exciting times were with him.
They will.
Yeah, but she said she didn't want
Let's
to
just
talk
talk about the
it.
good times.
Yeah.
Nothing bad.
Well, like I said, I think for me too, because my life really there's 2 things that I realize have become my life, and it's my daughter, and
Yes.
it's my business, and the rest of it was all just kind of
Wait, this is
they were
hilarious.
learning experiences.
This shows why I asked that question, because she's so inclined to
She
talk
told
about what
me
the
that,
person
yeah.
doesn't want to talk about.
No, but
But
the other
even
day
this
you
time
said
when-
we were going to talk
even
about
this
it.
time when I
I
literally
said we can't talk about
no,
it.
yeah. See, even
Well, then you
today
know
where I
it's
literally
talking about.
asked, "What do you not want to talk about?" She said her ex-husband. You still brought it up. It's hilarious.
Okay, we don't have to talk
Well,
about it, but
I'll
I
give-
want to.
It's
I will
hilarious.
do just a little bit about it.
Okay, just tell what you want to tell
yes,
about.
the love of my life. As it turns out, of course, he was a builder, and we forged a few things that I don't think would have happened had he not been in my life. And he was amazing. He was a very talented builder. There was no question about it. And one of the things that helped me in our relationship was the fact that I learned how to develop land, because that was really my component in our relationship, because I'd buy the land, develop the land, and then he'd build the homes on it, and then we'd sell the homes. So there was a real reward for something that the journey itself was quite bumpy, quite interesting. And when we have another, let's see, and I don't know what we'd call a segment on my marriages, but
We can talk about your love life.
is Dr. Phil available?
I love it.
Yeah. But back to the journey. The thing that was really beautiful about going through what I went through was it got me to Arizona, because I had always wanted to be here. I wanted to be here when I was going to school in Wyoming. And so of course I started my real estate company in Wyoming. I had a huge company. Within a few years, I had a 60% market share. And it wasn't a
Wow.
big community. It was 50,000 people. but I was the one, and that was for me. I didn't know it at the time that was something extraordinary, but here I was, the only woman-owned real estate company, and having a majority of the business. So once again, the learning curve and the things that I got to do and the people that I got to know and the experience that I had was probably the most valuable. And of course, like all good things, it comes to an end. And as things were continuing to grow and prosper and so on, a day came where the price of oil went from $50 a barrel back then to $18 a barrel almost overnight. And I saw that as an opportunity because I decided if I was going to be broke, I didn't want to be cold. And I knew that the community was so heavily dominated by oil and the oil industry that I knew the doors were going to start closing. So
smart.
So I just said, okay, and it was painful. My parents were still there. My daughter at the time was 7 years old. Couldn't imagine leaving her friends and all the things that you go on. But I just pretty much packed up and said, I'm going, and never ever to look back. And I absolutely love Arizona. It was always.
And does your daughter love it too?
Oh yes, yes. And Lainey, of course, it was really a cute story because when we got here, of course, I was so worried. She was such a little social butterfly at 7 years old and knew everybody in the town. I mean, it was a small town, so we knew everybody. And so when we got here, I'm like, oh dear, she's not going to have any friends, and it's going to be awful, and for her, and so on. And one day, we'd been here probably a couple of days. We came in August the 17th of 1984, to be exact, and monsoon. And I'd never seen a monsoon. I was like, wow, look at this. And
excitement.
It was so much fun because the water that was coming down was warm. And so she and I went out and played in the rain. It was so much fun.
But we take it for granted, but that's true. Most places that have rain, it's freezing rain.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so
With wind.
It was a treat. And so anyhow, I went back in and I came back out. I thought, well, where'd she go? And they couldn't find her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what on earth? Where did she go? I've lost her. And so I got in the car and I started driving around. We lived on McCormick Ranch, and so I started driving around and couldn't find her. I finally came back, and then I saw a group of kids down about 2 doors down, like probably 10 kids, and she's in the middle of all of them. I said, Lainey, and she goes, hi Mom, here are my new friends. I'm like, well, that didn't take long. All that worrying was for nothing. She adapted very well. And fortunately, we work together now. I mean,
so cute. It's a mother-daughter team.
She got the bug when she was about 21 years old, and she's been in real estate ever since. So really a great journey, and she's a rock star. I mean, she doesn't stop. She's always been in the top 1%, and still is, and still absolutely loves and enjoys it. So that was kind of what got us to where we are here now. Along the road, many exciting experiences, many lessons learned, a lot of expansion. Had a very large mortgage company at one time, had a title company, and then of course the love of my life. Not my ex-husband. No, not my ex-husband. No, my construction company.
Oh, okay, the construction company.
I thought I had you there for you
did. So it's nice. She owns a construction company that helps her with the fix and flips and helps others. And I want you to explain about how you help the little guy. That's important.
And the construction company was access to something that I was seeing. I mean, I've been through all kinds and sorts of cycles. I mean, you can imagine. In Arizona, 40 years in real estate, 57 years total for my whole career, and seeing so many changes in so many different markets and so on. And what I was starting to see a number of years ago in Arizona, it was the demand for housing, of course, but the injustice in so many people where they were selling their houses. The iBuyers came in, what we call the iBuyers, the real estate investment trust companies coming in, especially during the downturn in the market during 2008. They're coming in buying 800 houses for almost nothing and so on, and people really losing their life savings. And that continued for a number of years and escalated. Even though the short sales had stopped, it was still pervasive. And the iBuyers coming in and people having circumstances where they had to sell and getting almost nothing out of their homes bothered me immensely. It's like, no, this is not right. And I started asking myself the question, oops.
You're okay.
I started asking myself the question, what's missing, and if it existed, would make a difference. So as I would talk to people who had actually done sales like that and, you know, basically fire sold their home, and people who were thinking about it and finding out, well, why didn't you do something different? They didn't have options. And, you know, why didn't you fix up your house? Why didn't you do this? Because we didn't have a way to do it. We didn't know a contractor. We didn't have the money. We don't really even know how to redo a house. And most people are very infant when it comes to that. They can pick a paint color, but, you know, if you're going to completely go in and renovate a house and bring it up to market and make it where it's just absolutely stargazing beautiful, people don't have that expertise. So I went on a journey to accomplish that and figure it out. Okay, what do we need to do here? What do we need to do there? And I knew the most valuable thing would be to have the tradespeople to be able to do it. And of course, having the background I have in design myself, and having the background in interior design and the things that I've done for myself and for many, many others, that talent already existed. And then the big thing was the component of the money. And for quite a long time, we fronted the money ourselves. And now,
Isn't that cool? It's amazing.
yeah, and I'll share with you a few of the stories because they're really cool.
Well, I know there's the story of a waitress
Yes,
that you
yes.
really you were fond of, and you helped her. Okay, anyway, we'll tell that story.
Life altering.
Yes.
So with regard to the money, we had a lot of money invested in it. It was working very, very well, but we really felt a need to expand it. And a couple of years ago, we joined Compass Real Estate, which is a really wonderful real estate company. And they have.
What were you with before that?
We were with HomeSmart.
Okay, and now you're with Compass.
Now we're with Compass.
And how do you like Compass?
Love them. No, really great move. And HomeSmart was a wonderful company, but this company and the access that we have to what's known as the concierge service is beyond imagination.
Okay, define that for the listeners.
What that is Compass is exclusive to Compass. Some companies do kind of a version of it, but Compass is a national company, and they have funds available. So when I find a property that needs to be renovated, instead of me coming up with the money, which we still do at a certain level, we have them. It's a very quick application.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, it takes about 30 minutes. We apply for the money. And we tell them what the renovations are going to be. We put all that together, and we. You
mean okay? So like, if somebody contacts Compass, and they have a realtor, or are you talking about you specifically?
Well, any real estate agent at Compass has access to this.
Okay.
We've made a market with it. Not every agent uses it.
I have never heard this before.
Yeah. Well, no, and it's relatively new.
Interesting.
It's
okay.
a really, really
this
great
is important.
program.
I did not know
this. It's really awesome.
And Compass is formerly Launch.
Yes.
Compass bought out Launch.
By Compass.
So if you see a Launch sign, it's still it's now Compass.
Right, and you probably won't see any launches anymore. I think those are all replaced by Compass.
Is it still super hard to estimate remodeling costs after COVID? Because I know it did all sorts of wacky stuff with the prices of materials and labor and stuff. Is that still an issue or no?
Not like it was during COVID.
Yeah.
During COVID, you couldn't get anything.
Yeah, it was crazy.
We had houses ready to be sold, ready to go to market, and we couldn't get a refrigerator or whatever. I mean, it was crazy. It was.
So now things are better.
Oh, much better.
And now Launch is now Compass, and Compass can fund somebody's remodel.
The renovation. So let's
how does that work?
Well, let's say that we go out, we bring our contractors in, our design team, we figure out all the things that need to be done. We do an analysis first as far as, okay, this is what the house is worth as is. And if we do this and this and this is what we feel we can get. So let's just say for a minute the house is worth as is $500,000. If we put $100,000 into it, we can get probably $750,000. So so then we go back to Compass, and I give them the analysis and say this is what we're doing, and we need $100,000, and these are the renovations. And the people, we have an app, we have it online. I mean, it doesn't take very long at all.
I didn't know this existed.
And we have the client apply for the $100,000. We have the approval rate is.
And your company gives them the money.
And the company does, and so it's funded.
Wow.
It's usually funded within a few days, and it doesn't require FICO scores. It doesn't require income. It is a loan, so the property that we're working on, it'll be secured as a second mortgage against the property, and it's paid off when we close. And even if for some reason the people, and this can happen, we've had people
Wow.
say this a couple times, is when we get it all done, they go, we don't want to sell. So if that happens, which we haven't had it happen, but we had people consider it, the loan that's against there, it goes into a permanent loan, and you have a couple years to pay that off if you decide to stay, or you can refinance it out and pay it off.
I'm confused. So somebody likes the house so much they don't want to leave?
Well, we've had them say that, yeah, but they usually are like, well, we like to have that extra money, so we're good.
That's really smart. You include that option because
Yes.
somebody might love their house after that
Right.
remodel. That's nice.
And they do. And when I share the story about our
That's very
our
cool.
waitress, that was.
Oh, tell us about the waitress.
yeah,
Yeah, this
yeah.
is a cool story.
So anyhow, we provide the money. It's a relatively easy process. We do have complete and total control, and the buyer, the owner.
Wait, how so? Give us the.
Well, as far as
Talk us through
what
that.
happens to the house. So we do the design work, we make the recommendation, and sometimes people will say, well, we don't like
White color.
We don't like white. We hate white. And it's too bad because we're gonna paint it white because
Okay.
that's what buyers want. So we're
So
very
you do
skilled
it in
that.
a way that you're fixing it up for the buyers to want.
Correct. We're doing it for the buyer
What's
to
in
walk
style?
in and in 20 seconds say, I'll take it. And that's everything that we do to the house is about that 20-second experience. And we do it in every room, and everybody walks through and goes, oh. So we know what creates that. And so it's really important that we have the final say in it. Now, if people have, we're not.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
If they're hiring you to do the remodel, to sell the house, and you guys are the experts, why would they have a say?
Exactly.
It makes
and
total
people
sense.
are generally really good about it. I mean, we have some conversations, but for the most part, we have free reign. We've got a success record. We've got a track record. We can show people what we've done, and it's an easy.
And you're paying for it.
And we're giving you the money. We're giving you the money. So anyhow, it is a relatively simple process.
Did you know that existed?
Yeah.
Okay, you did.
Yeah, and it's not widely known, and as I say, there's not everyone does what we do with concierge. Concierge has some other capacities and some other things that you can do for people during a move, but our sweet spot is that renovation. That's what we use the concierge service for, and it's a fabulous. I don't think anybody really does it like Compass does.
So hold on, if somebody that is constantly buying new homes, and if they're doing the fix and flip thing, does that work for them?
No.
Okay.
No, this
Okay.
this is for a client who's going to sell their house. So it's not like if we have somebody who flips homes and wants to get the money and flip the home and so on. No, because
Okay.
the only way that it's accessible is with an approved contractor, and we're an approved contractor with Compass. So
Okay.
that's how all that works.
Okay,
Yes,
that
yes.
makes sense. Okay.
And as I said, I don't think we've done one that just hasn't been probably almost tear rendering at the end. Such incredible results. And
Well, tell us the story about the waitress
yes,
that
let
you
me tell
helped.
you. Let me tell
'Cause
you
it's a
about
cute
her.
story.
This was she was referred to us. She had a home over really nice subdivision over in Peoria, a little lake community out there.
Wait, what's her name? Because we can't just refer to her as the waitress.
We
Because
can-
it
we
reminds
can-
me of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
We can
I
call
can't
we
take
can
it
call
seriously.
her we can call her Jane because her real name is Jane.
Okay.
And if
cool.
if she listens, she'll love that we told her story because
Okay.
I know where she
loves
works.
her story too. Yes, so you know where she works exactly. So anyhow, she'd had a trauma in her life, and her house was a great little house, but she had a trauma, and she actually became a hoarder. And the first time that I went to the house, I could hardly go in. I mean, it was just devastating, and she was so embarrassed about it. I mean, but she, something had happened, and it does, and this is where she was in life.
It's one of the more interesting but confusing dilemmas that people go through when they have hoarding issues.
Oh my gosh, yes, yes, it
It
is.
is.
Most of them,
is.
like you were saying, are embarrassed about it and don't like it. So it's
Right.
they're creating this problem for themselves. Very small percentage of them actually enjoy being in their area.
That's
So
absolutely
it's
right.
so confusing.
No,
It is so confusing.
It's
What-
it has to be a mental
Yeah.
illness because your brain's just not working.
because,
Yeah.
because how do they get to that point?
Well, and then they don't know. They don't know. They just know that there was a pivot, and I won't share what her trauma was, but she had a trauma, and she just never recovered from it. And when you're lifeless about something and you have no access to any kind of help or any kind of guidance, even to get yourself out of that, it can happen, and it certainly did for her. So we were called because there was someone who knew her, referred her to us, and wondered if we would be interested in buying the house. It wasn't about doing, our company is called Flip Your Own House. And it wasn't really about that, because even the people that referred her said there's no way you want to do this, but maybe you can help her by buying it and finding somebody to buy it, somebody to sell it to. So anyhow, for the very brief period of time that I was in the house, I could see that it was a great house at one time. You could see that she lived there with great joy, and her daughter lived there, and that there was some real love that had been in the house. And then, of course, when
Didn't her mom die?
She did. Yes, her mom left her the house.
Yeah,
her mom had left her the house. And so as I met her, and she wanted to stay outside to talk, which I was grateful for. And I learned a little bit more about what was going on, and what her life was about, and finding out that she'd been a waitress at the same place for like 25 years, and you can just see her. I mean, there was a TV show, Mel's Diner.
Yes.
I think Mel's or something like that, and I could just see that would be who she was, somebody everybody knew, and she knew what they ate, and so on and so forth. Just a delightful lady, full of love. So as we looked a little deeper, and I brought my contractors in, and they were kind of shaking their heads and going, I don't know about this. I said, no, we have to do it. We have to. I don't care what it takes. We have to do this. And at the time, I think she would have netted somewhere around, if we'd have just taken the house and sold it to somebody, wholesaled it to somebody, she probably would have got about $50,000. And this is all the money she had in the world.
Well, and so when there's all those costs of having to move all that stuff out, does that subtract from the value because you have to pay people to take that crap out, or how does that work?
Well,
you would assume that would be more expensive.
It deducts what the net proceed is going to be, because it's a cost. It's no different than a refrigerator. It's a cost of fixing all this. And
it can probably be really expensive depending on how severe it is.
Well, and you literally have to have a hazmat company come in. I mean, that's the only way when you have a property like that. And we've had a couple.
Why were there cats?
Oh, there were, and some of them weren't living.
Oh no!
Yes.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yes, and which troubled her immensely as well. I mean, it was.
Oh, that's so sad.
Oh, and like
it's not a good ad for restaurants, because
no.
I wouldn't want that person to be touching my food.
Yeah. Good point.
Well, we didn't say the restaurant.
I didn't say I asked to eat at a restaurant.
So how is she doing now, and how did?
Well, it was a beautiful story and a beautiful journey, and we decided our contractors, when they met her, they couldn't say no. It's just who she was, and we knew this was a mission to save somebody's life.
That is totally saving somebody's life.
She wasn't dying, she wasn't ill, she was diminishing every day more to where there was no hope. And I really felt like we were her hope, and we were sent to her. It was just really an intentional thing somewhere in the universe where we were supposed to meet her.
So how were you able to help her cure that issue going into her next place, so that the next place didn't turn into the same thing?
That's a good question.
Spot on. And what we did, we went in there and we literally tore the house apart. We took everything out. We did some of the cutest things I think we've ever done to a house. She had a little shed in the back that really needed to be torn down. And our contractor said one day, no, it's a he shed. I said, no, it's a she shed. So we did a she shed in her backyard, which she loved. And it was, landscaped, everything was just absolutely beautiful. And what was really fun was she would come over all the time after work and look at it. And then she got to a place where she was bringing friends over to see the progress and see what was going on. And I could see her there was an awakening that was going on in her. And when she would come over, and her daughter had gotten to a place where she wouldn't come in the house at all. She was like, no, I can't do it, Mom, I just can't do it. And she would bring her daughter over like once a week to see the progress, and their relationship started bonding together, because they had something where whatever was going on for her was starting to diminish, and she could see a future.
Was it because the daughter was like frustrated with all the
Oh,
hoarding and all
absolutely.
the
Absolutely.
the issues of the hoarding. Okay.
So anyhow, we as we continued to get close to the end and completion of the property, there was a whole new owner at that point. She was so proud of that house. She talked to her neighbors that she hadn't talked to for years, and she had them come over. And she would, I mean, the things that she was
Was it
saying,
kind of bittersweet that she had to leave then?
it
or-
was.
Yeah.
It really was. And she knew this was the only money she had in the whole wide world. And so we got to the place where it was ready to sell, and we put it on the market. And I mean,
Such a beautiful story. I'm like getting all teary.
No, I know, and that was how she
It's,
was for me. It was just such. It was like there was no was not an answer. It just we were going to do this, and we put it on the market. And I think in the first day, I think we had something like 10 showings, and we got like 5 contracts.
Really?
The
That's
next
such
day,
a great.
yeah, the next day, above asking price.
Wow.
And the net of what happened there was that she actually ended up walking away with about $150,000.
So $100,000 more
Yes.
than
And
what
then
she was
when-
going to get.
Then when you're saying,
That's
and then
huge.
what happened? What happened after that was really the beautiful part about it, because now she had some money. Her whole thing was, well, I'm going to have enough money now to pay rent for the rest of my life. And I had continued to say to her, let's look at some other options. And we happened to find a nice sized mobile home, like 1,400 square feet. That was
Wow.
being sold at in these mobile home parks, you don't get to own them. The people, when you move in there, if you leave, the mobile home park owns it. I mean, there's some of those around here. I'm not too much in favor of that, but nonetheless, that's what people sign up for. So we found one that was for sale, and it needed renovating. Strangest thing. Gee, we could do that. And so anyhow, we could buy the mobile home for $15,000. It was 1,300 square feet. It was sound, but it needed everything. And we put about $60,000, I think it was about $50,000 into the mobile home. And what was really fun was she got to participate in how that was going to look. And she did everything in that mobile home, pretty much like what we did in the house, only we did it a lot less expensive. So she really, when she fell in love with her house that we sold, she got to bring all of that with her. So she moved into this brand new mobile home, everything clean and perfect, free and clear, no mortgage. She paid cash for everything. And then she had enough money that she put into an annuity and actually has an income for life. And just absolute, and the conversations that I had with her, even to this day, and she invites us back every once in a while. She was having Christmas parties. She was inviting the neighbors in. She brought her friends from work to see her house, and set the money aside. What we got to do there, I feel, was heaven sent. That's just all I can say
That's
about
awesome.
it. Yeah.
And that is really, I mean, you're taking the time, and that you're saving someone's life.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
That's
we're here
all
saving the
we thought.
planet.
Yeah.
One show at a time.
One show at a time. Love it. Absolutely.
So it'd be really amazing someday if we could to get her on the show to have her talk about.
I will ask her. Yeah, I will ask her.
Check with her. Check with her. That'd be really amazing.
Well, she's a character too. She
Really?
has such a great sense of humor. She's hilariously funny, and she is. She's a very bright woman. She really is, and she's in her element now.
Does she still work at the same place?
I think she does. I saw her last. Let me think. It was last Valentine's Day, not this year, the year before. And at that time, she was still working. So I don't think she'll ever retire because she loves it. She just that's her thing, and she just keeps doing it.
And now is her place all perfectly
Immaculate.
No clutter?
She has cleaning people every week.
and no clutter.
That's
No clutter.
amazing that she turned it around like that.
Oh no, that was something that you don't get to see very often.
Yeah, well, it showed that she really wanted to change, because most of the people on that hoarders show need like a bunch of like therapy and stuff, and then still
and a
have
lot more
problems.
stuff.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the book, but we had a lady that's written a few books on decluttering,
Mhm.
and she does exactly what you guys did with her home.
Yes.
But she goes in, people hire her, and she does like big hoarding, decluttering situations. And she's very funny, and we've done she came from California to be on the show.
Oh, how awesome!
Yes.
How awesome!
And the reason why I'm bringing her up is I'm the opposite. I'm somebody that I can't stand clutter, And going forward, I would not be able to, be in a relationship with somebody that loves like clutter.
Yeah.
Like I walk around looking for, okay, what, because I fear
It might happen.
hoarding.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody goes through cycles. I've walked in your house where it's not perfectly clean.
No.
Yes, I have.
Okay. Do you want
I've
to come
walked in
over
your
after
room.
this?
I've walked in your room before where there was clothes everywhere.
That's
Yes,
never happened.
yeah.
That's because she couldn't decide what to wear that day.
Yeah,
That's
exactly,
excusable.
exactly,
That's a
exactly.
girl thing.
I'm
Yeah.
saying it's normal for a place to get messy. That's totally different than hoarding. Hoarding is where you like can't walk around.
Yeah.
It's like
And you
it's a
can't,
totally
you can't
different
pick it
level.
Up.
Yeah.
You just can't pick it up.
Yeah.
I know I used to tell Lainey when she was a little girl, that glass will lead to 10. Put it away.
Well, you can get, I see where people are like, oh, well, that's nice. You're on vacation. You bring this home. You bring that home. And then you have all this stuff. And then where do you put it? I think if you're bringing new things in, you got to get rid of things.
No, I agree. Absolutely.
You can't just keep bringing stuff in and there's no room for it.
Yeah.
You have to get rid of things. Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yes.
Totally agree.
Now, the only place that has clutter in my place is my garage. And I all of a sudden I look at it, I go, whoa, and then I freak out, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta get rid of stuff, and that's what and then I'll go over the top. I'll get rid of things that I probably should have kept that.
Well, I like some of the things that were in your garage I saw the other day.
Yeah, there you
Is
go.
that where you collect them? Okay, all right. Hoard me one of those, will you? I'll get you one of those over in my garage. I'll take
love
that
it.
any day. Get it out of your way. Too much clutter. Too much
Right?
clutter. Yeah.
Well, I love that you're helping people, and how do people get a hold of you?
Well, our website is flippyourownhouse.net. Be sure not .com, but not .net.
Flipyourownhouse.net.
Yes,
Okay.
.net.
And it's a mother-daughter team.
Well, actually, the company, Lainey's in the real estate part. She's not really a part of the construction company. So our construction company is a different entity.
Okay.
Flip Your Own House. So, but to get a hold of me, it's relatively easy. I'm Sharon at SharonBarrett.com, not net.com. I don't want to get anyone confused. And I'm also with Compass Real Estate, and it's easy to go to Compass Real Estate, and you can Google my name, and I'll pop right up. And my telephone number is 602-330-5055. And I'm pretty much, I won't say 24/7, but I know
You're pretty good about calling right back.
I'm pretty available.
She's really good about it. Even if you're with
yeah.
clients, she'll text me and say, I'm showing a couple houses for the next hour, but I'll call you in 2 hours. No, she gets right back to you, which is amazing.
Yeah, and
No, I love that.
and this is such a fun project, and you don't have to have a sad story. We take sad stories and turn them into happy stories, but we also can start with a happy story and make it even happier. And some of the things that we've been able to do for people who didn't have the situation that we had with this particular one, there's joy at the end of all of it. We've never had a property since we started doing this that ever has not turned out in the favor of the homeowner.
That could be our title, Bringing Joy with Real Estate.
There you go. Yeah.
Or
you go.
unless we can tweak that and make it better, but that's kind of where I'm starting with.
No, and that it really is. It's about that. I mean, having people get checks that we're able to give them that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise is just the most fun part of the day. And the things that, the people do with it afterwards, a lot of times, I mean, we've had some people who were not well and having to relocate because of that and going closer to hospitals and so on. So sometimes their stories and the reason that they're doing it are not necessarily as dramatic as what I just shared with you. But whatever it is, people are moving for a reason. If you can enhance that and have a bigger check at the end of it than they would have, boy, I love it. I did my job. That's how I look
You
at it.
100%
I did
do.
my job. Yeah.
So how does it work? So you have your construction company. Do you also have a warehouse with some of the, like the tiles? Because some of those things are, the carpet. Is that hard to get?
We don't have a showroom.
Okay.
We don't
Okay.
have a showroom.
Okay.
And we're set up with wholesalers. A lot of our
Wholesalers.
wholesalers, you can go to their showrooms and look at things. And so many times, I mean, we will do a renovation for someone that's not under Flip Your Own House, where if they just want us to do their house and remodel it for them, we will do that.
So they don't have to flip it. They can just still
Right.
just
We do that
remodel.
pretty sparingly. We do that primarily for our previous clients and people that we have relationships. We don't solicit that business, but if we sold somebody a house 2 or 3 years ago and they come back to us and say, we hate our kitchen, would you redo it? Then we'll do that. So we
that's
do
nice.
we do it for our clients. Our construction company is all about our clients. We did our construction company to serve the people that we already served in a bigger way. and a more powerful way. And it is very difficult to find people to renovate your kitchen. And when I see some of or anything in your house, and I see some of the prices that people pay, I'm always astonished. I'm like, how do they do that?
Wow.
And when we do renovations for our clients, we're strictly a cost plus, a very small margin. And I've seen people that have had bids for $100,000 for a kitchen that we do for 30. And it's just
Wow.
because because it's service to people. It isn't. We're not trying to make money in our construction company. We're trying to serve our real estate clients. So
And then they're
that's why-
repeat customers.
Oh,
and they,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
So
they
they're just
refer us
real-
business, and that's why I'm showing houses now and showing houses
Yeah.
then, and it just keeps flowing. So it's it's really a great combination, and it really does add an extra value to what it is.
You're
that
like
we
a
do.
monthly
And
show.
that's why
we-
it's so important to get multiple quotes and estimates on a project.
Oh my
'cause,
gosh, yes.
Yeah, I have
Oh my
a friend
gosh,
right
yes.
now who's going through a remodel, and they keep on getting curveball
that's
after
right.
curveball,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
keep on saying like you should get a second opinion. 'cause,
Oh my
like,
gosh,
they could be
yes.
making all this shit up.
Always, absolutely.
Oh, you should have her go in and see what's going on.
No, and we're
Essentially.
always
Sharon would
happy
help
to
you.
do that. If we
Yes.
can take a look at something and go, that's too much.
Well, yeah, and
Whatever.
I think he's scared to have a second opinion because he thinks it's going to cost more money. But it's like, no, if these first guys are just ringing up the bill,
Oh my God.
running
And
up
he's
the
too
bill.
nice. You should have Sharon come see.
Well,
come
yeah,
look at
I've been basically
Yes.
trying to say like, let me get somebody in there to give a second
No, let us-
opinion.
let us
Here you
take a
go.
peek.
Yeah,
Let us
yeah.
take a
Let her
peek,
take a peek.
absolutely.
She'll know.
Very happy
She'll know.
to do
Let's go
that,
in there.
yeah.
So now tell us about our up and coming. You're like a monthly show. There's so much to talk about with you, and we only have about 8 more minutes. So I want to ask you about your restaurants
Yes.
that are. I know you've had bars and restaurants. We can talk a little bit about that, but then I want to go into. You've got some new up and coming,
Well, yes, we have
exciting.
a really exciting
bar
project.
restaurants.
This has been part
Let's
of.
talk about the ones that are open first, so people can go and check them out and
Well,
support.
that'll make it a short show because none of them are open yet.
Oh,
so.
okay.
Yeah.
So they're all restaurants coming
They're
soon.
previous. There
Coming soon.
have been ones.
Previous
right
ones
now,
that she owned
yes,
with her husband of one
Right.
or two.
My
You-
my.
you married him
second
twice.
husband, Yeah, my second husband, who was
Wait.
also my third husband.
Okay, your
Yeah.
second and third husband. She had bars and
Yes.
restaurants with, but now
But we have a partnership for a development in downtown Phoenix off of Roosevelt Row, and
Do you know where that is?
Yeah, there's a lot of great
Oh,
restaurants
it's-
popping up down there.
It's so
Yeah.
amazing what's
Yeah.
happening down there.
so tell us all about it.
And
It's exciting.
I started buying property down there in 2004.
Oh, that's
and-
back when it was terrible.
It was
over there.
terrible, and it was a little scary. And
But it's
so-
smart.
It's
That's
impressive
what-
that you saw the potential there, though.
Well,
Yeah.
and I the key piece for me was when the announcement that they were going to do an ASU campus downtown. That was when, and of course I've always bought lots of real estate. I've owned real estate all over the place. I still do.
And you still have to tell the story about your ring in the Las Vegas
Oh, okay.
property, and that will end with that. So let's talk about this,
Okay,
and then we have to go to
great.
that because that's
Yeah,
funny.
So anyhow, the development we're 7 homes. They're all bungalows. I had for many years, every time one would come up, I would buy it. They're all contiguous, and with a vision to preserve those properties, because so much of downtown, so much of Phoenix for that matter, it gets torn down.
Mhm.
These properties were built, the one that I actually live in right now was built in 1910, and just a majestic craftsman home. And the ones across the street were all torn out, the ones down the street were all torn out, and I was like, no, this, Phoenix wants this. I'm really clear that what we can do
Which
here,
is sustainable.
which is sustainable,
Oh, yeah,
absolutely,
big time.
Yes, very
absolutely.
sustainable.
And I had
And
to,
it's cool to keep some of the history. I mean, we
well,
don't have
it is.
it's only 100 years, but it's still cool to keep some
Yes,
of that. Like, it's
yes.
sad when just everything gets torn down. You're like, was this city built
And do you understand? She
yesterday?
saved that. She's been
Oh.
buying one property after the other,
Absolutely. And
and now
I'm
these are
saying
going to be the restaurants.
Yeah.
And with each one of the properties, we've done a historic search on them. We know who lived there. Like the one that I
Wow.
live in right now, the original
Is this
door,
cool?
there's original doorknobs in it, and every time I touch it, I wonder, I wonder what the mayor's day was today. It's so much fun. And I had developers from Chicago, New York, Dallas, Texas, Vancouver, who wanted to buy the properties and tear them down and build a high rise. And the money was great.
Oh, you're probably going to keep getting those offers then.
And she
because
keeps
of
saying
the
no
location,
because
yeah.
she wants to keep the
Well,
history
now
and
we
be
have
sustainable.
now we actually we were really blessed a few years ago, and we met our development partner, who's like I am. He's such a purist about the downtown area, and he's done so many fabulous
Who is it?
fabulous. Jonathan Vento with True North Development.
Okay.
And he's magic. He's just absolutely magic.
We'll have to do a future show with him
Oh,
and
you
you
want to have
together.
Jonathan on for sure.
Together.
For sure.
Okay,
No,
cool.
he is amazing, and he just recently redid the Pemberton project. I don't know if you've heard.
I've heard of that.
but
Yes.
Anyhow, I call it Jonathan Unleashed. I mean, you can just see what's in his brain with everything that came out in that project. It's just beyond imagination. And anyhow, when I met him, I realized that what was standing in front of me was the dream that I'd always had for those properties. So what's actually going to occur is the bungalows are all being preserved. All of them will be preserved, and each one of them will become a restaurant.
What kind?
Well, we have there's a diversity of it, and of course some of them are still in limbo. But we have one that's going to be wine and tapas, and then we have another one that's wine and charcuterie. We have an Italian restaurant. We have a gourmet hamburger restaurant that's going in. And then the one that's wine and charcuterie, in the morning there'll be a bakery and coffee house. So we have and these are world-class people that are coming in. I mean, these, like the people that are doing the wine and tapas, they're
So are they from
Chicago,
elsewhere, and then you have like
from
a,
Chicago. some
who's
of
the
them from
liaison
Chicago.
that helps you find these
Well,
restaurant tours?
actually True North has a real estate agent, commercial real estate agent on staff
To
that
get the
does all
restaurant people?
leasing and bring all those people in, yeah, and they've done an amazing job.
And then you're going to be like the landlord.
Well, if we keep them.
Okay.
Once it's up to our standards and we have confidence that it's going to move forward as it is, it probably will be sold at some point.
Okay.
But right now with the restaurants, and
Cool.
then on the back we have a full acre of ground, and we're building 34 absolutely darling townhouses. So people.
I'm going to buy one.
Okay, you're in. First sale. Here
I'm
we
going to buy
go.
one.
Well,
What will they rent?
We're not sure yet, but they're all designed. I have the whole complete project. I'll have to show you.
Mhm.
And when you get Jonathan on, he'll really elaborate too. But they have city light views. I mean, they're just
Really?
they're all walkable. I mean, it's just all the.
So are they going to be more
sustainability.
than like a few $100,000?
Probably. Yeah, we haven't really.
What's your
gotten
total
there
guess?
yet.
$1 million?
We may even rent them. We're looking at maybe renting them.
And people can't own them.
Ultimately they will be able to, but right now that's all kind of fluid, and we're looking at where the market's
Okay.
going to be. But the foundation of it all is the restaurants, and then of course the townhomes are just another benefit, because we do want people to live in that area. That's why we did the project, is we want people to enjoy what we have seen since 2004, and Phoenix is responding. They really are. I mean,
So now that those like bungalows are preserved, if somebody bought the
Too many.
restaurants, would they not be able to like tear them down and put
They
a high
can't.
rise? Okay, that's awesome.
no, they can't
That's
do it.
awesome.
No.
Okay, cool.
We've taken great steps to make sure that they will remain for the rest of their lives.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's the property that I actually live in. It has a facade also on it, and the thing that's so wonderful about the facade is you can do certain things, but you can never change the integrity of that. You can never change the front porch. You can never change the windows.
I love that.
It's wonderful. The city has done an amazing job in partnering with us and preserving those properties, and many others.
So you're also preserving Arizona.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well,
a really,
I
really fun project. Really
I'm
fun
super
project.
excited to get you on many times.
Well, thank you.
This was
Thank you. It's so much
so
fun
exciting.
to see you. Absolutely.
And I'm so grateful. Do you have any last comment, since we have 1 minute?
I'm just excited to eat at those restaurants.
Oh, you're
Sound
yeah.
really
you're gonna
interesting.
love him. You'll
Yeah.
be my guest.
So maybe he'll DJ, and we'll kind
why
of
not?
celebrate the big grand
Oh
opening.
my gosh, yes. You will be the grand opening. How's that?
Rachel and Chet, my daughter also DJs. We'll have
I
them
know
both
they
do
are.
it.
Yeah, I know they are.
That'd be great.
I'd love it.
Well,
Absolutely.
how do people find you one last time?
Sharon Barrett. Telephone number is